Going. Thank you so much, Mr. Rafla, Mr. Mohammed Umair, for joining us. Let me start with you, Mr. Rafla. Today, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is adopting digital transformation. Whatever they term as digital transformation, they're doing something. Could you tell us why do you think we need a strategy and what kind of change will it bring to the organization? Why do we need a digital transformation strategy?
Okay, so basically, digital transformation is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. And without digital transformation, especially in the industry that I work in, which is the financial industry, digital transformation it became a necessity. Every organization, in order for it to compete with the market needs, as well as the increasing customer requirements and customer expectations, you always have to have a proper digital transformation internally in order for us to achieve the best turnaround time and serve the customers to the best extent, as well as it creates some sort of coherence as well as cooperations between all the divisions. So for us, digital transformation in Prime FinTech, it was a much easier solution than any other company, as we are a startup that started last year. And our business model is all based on digital transformation, on digital. So it is a complete digital ecosystem. It is really important now that we need to understand that turnaround time and having decisions taken in seconds is the key. And to achieve this, you need a complete automated process, a complete automated assessment flows. Everything has to be digitalized.
All right. So for day-to-day decisions, you need a strategy that works. Mr. Omar, what do you think is the reason why you need digital transformation? Because pre-pandemic, only a few operations or solutions or apps were being automated. Work was still being done in a manual fashion. It is still being done. So, why do we need a strategy? What does it bring to the organization?
Yeah, thank you for this invitation and everything. And I second what Mr. Fadi said. Basically, I would say like it starts from a company's culture, like how you guys operate, like how a company operates, and then there are some processes and in all the departments that you're following to achieve a business goal, right? So digital transformation is very important nowadays, especially with the pandemic and all, and a lot of remote working is happening and all that. Even if there is no remote working, like if you want to achieve a goal, and then there are a lot of processes involved, manual steps, manual approvals, a proper workflow is there, and that everything is on paper, pen and paper. So digital transformation is going to help us a lot in this area to speed up the process. And now the market is very fierce in terms of competition, and then you need to be ahead of your competitors all the time. And to do that, you need to move fast. And to move fast, there are some tools, like this is one of them, that you have to make sure that all the decisions from top to the bottom, everyone is aware of that decision, and then you are moving very fast to reach your customers at the end.
Okay, so a lot of benefits by bringing in digital transformation. Now, a lot has happened because of the COVID pandemic. What are your learnings, Mr. Pari, from the COVID pandemic lockdown? And now that things are slowly returning back to normal, we're going back to offices, returning to our pre-pandemic days. How will the digital strategy, digital transformation strategy be tweaked for maximum efficiency?
Well, in our situation, working from home was not a very big part of our operation, because we were working on-prem. We had enough spaces to be distributed. So yes, however, desktop as a service was one of the key essential tools that is required for us to be able to do some controls over accessing company systems. It also we are also depending on virtual meetings, and virtual meetings will maintain as the preferred channel of meeting and discussing any topics. Of course, the trying to eliminate any kind of human intervention within the process and trying to minimize any kind of physical interventions with clients is something that is being taken care of now, and preparing the solutions in order for have a perfect self-servicing offering to our customers in order for them not to be needing to meet someone in person.
Mm-hmm. And what are you doing with your strategy, Mr. Omar? Now that you have employees coming back to office, does it require any change at all? How are you working around it?
Yeah, fortunately, again, like we had the opportunity, like we had the space and everything for this, and we were fully relying on the workforce here. Like they are here in the company, and then we are working. But definitely, there was time where we were working remotely, and then again, the tools that we have on our disposal that are going to help a lot. Like Zoom and Slack and all these communications that we are doing. There's one point that is very important for a team to be effective is too much communication in this time when you are working remotely is okay. Like even if you need some small thing, just ping. It's just a ping away. And some people need to get used to this, because some people prefer like talking to someone and then going to their desk and asking the question. But again, as I mentioned about the culture of the company and how things work, this requires a little bit of training and a little bit of time for that to change.
Okay, so this is about company culture and how you get used to remote functioning. I want to understand that what were the changes that you brought about in your operations, in your applications? Did you bring them about? Did you automate some of those? And now, how do you plan to go to the next step? Mr. Rafla, would you like to elaborate on this? We've understood how remote working is happening, but now we're moving from survival to growth. So what did you move? What did you change during the pandemic? What would you like to change now?
Well, as I mentioned, in the pandemic, we were trying to rely on, we're trying to minimize the working from home scenario. However, we have provided all the remote working facilities in terms of either solutions or even the equipment itself, because equipment, if you don't have the mobility, mobile equipment in order for you to be able to proceed, then the whole remote working will not work. As said, automation of the process is key when it comes to employees coming back as full force in any company, because when processes are automated and everyone knows exactly or being alerted at the right time to do his interventions on a certain system without going into a physical meeting or someone going to the desk and stuff like that. So automation of the process is key. Monitoring the success of the process and seeing how these things are being managed and it is foolproof without any kind of mistakes. This is also very important. Securing the premises itself and keeping some sort of health measures, like always having temperature checks upon entry, always making sure that any outside visits are being taken very seriously about wearing masks and so on and so forth. So we are imposing not only digital solutions, we're imposing also some sort of guidelines for people to take care of themselves and take care of their clients as well as the company.
Right. Mohammed, let me get it from you. Now that there are offices that are opening up, we are thinking about more growth into survivorship. what are the things that you want to do, that you realize because of digital transformation, it's possible now? Something that, you would bring more applications, or, something that came to your mind, given how people, operated and reacted during a pandemic, even if it's out of fear, even if people are not going out, could you have innovated a product and given them something that, fulfilled their needs, and became a new service altogether? Could you do more of this in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Innovation is very important, and then you need to like keep improving the processes, keep improving on what you are doing. So for us, we focus on automation. So I would not say that we are fully automated and we are fully digitally transformed, but I would say like we started on that journey already, and then we have a lot of custom applications that we have built to automate these processes from like walkthroughs and workflows we have created for our internal employees and users. On top of that, like proper tooling is also very important. So now we are integrating with the CRM tools because we are an online food delivery company, and then we need to be connected with our customers, and we are in the process of setting that up. We are also in parallel working on an ERP solution which can automate our internal processes of the company. So these are some of the key points for a company to be succeed in these times.
All right, so we're getting a few audience questions as well, and I'll take them up now that you're with us here. So one question that has come in is, does the strategy have a vision on increasing employment rather than decreasing? Because with all the automation happening, this becomes type of a byproduct. There is this fear that automation reduces manpower and hence employment is affected. Would you like to take this up? How do you look at this, Mr. Rapla? Is this true? Because, you can just create new kind of jobs. You may, give up the mundane jobs, but create new jobs.
Exactly. This is it. This is basically trying to use the human resources in more effective and valuable positions, instead of being data entry or passing stage for a certain to push an application from a stage to another manually. No, these human resources can be developed, and we can give them additional courses in order for us to move them into a more strategic or more conceptual and more valuable position in the company. No, we don't think of reducing at all. On the other hand, we are actually increasing hiring of developers. So yes, we might lose some people in the process, but not lose them as being fired or being laid off. No, lose them as being part of the process to move to a more valuable position. However, we are increasingly hiring developers in all types, from backends, iOS, Androids, all types of developers and all types of system integration developers, as well as infra security. So no, the demand on these talents and abilities is increasing, not decreasing.
Okay, so high-end skills will be in demand, but Mohammed, is the workforce ready? For somebody who's done the same routine jobs for all their lives, they feel it's so much effort to upgrade. But then this pandemic has taught us that unless we upgrade our skills, we will be redundant. Just like if you don't upgrade your technology as a company, you get redundant. So have we seen enough upskilling happening? Do we have the workforce ready for the newer jobs of tomorrow?
Yes,
I'd like Mohammed to take that. I'll come back to you.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a very good point, actually. I would say like there are some things that people do better than machines. So, and there are some things that machines do better. And then based on the job, what someone is doing, we should be identifying that. And then, as you said, upskilling the people and making sure that they are working on more focused work. Like we should increase the value of the outcome that they are producing at the end. So if like say you say data entry, like these kind of things, if we can automate that and then put those people into something more valuable for the company. So that will be really good. But in any case, like everyone is learning all their life, right? So everyone needs to upskill, and everyone needs to learn new technologies and new things. So from our side, like the same thing is happening, that we are not actually reducing, we are adding more people to our teams, and at the same time giving them proper tools to do their jobs more efficiently.
Yes, Mr. Rafa, you also wanted to come in here about creation of jobs, destruction of jobs because of automation.
Actually, Omar covered it already, so thank you very much, Omar, for covering it.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about the challenges that have come in. So one is the skills. Finding skilled people is a challenge everywhere around the world. What were the other challenges that you faced when you were, executing your digital transformation strategy? Mr. Rafla, would you like to talk about this?
Sure. Of course, one of the main challenges are the culture, because we are hiring people from different industries, from banking, from telecom, from regulatory entities, from insurance, from different industries, and everyone comes with his own corporate culture. So changing the culture is one of the barriers. However, we make them part of the change. We make them own the change, and ownership makes people want to change. So if you give them the ownership and you give them the credibility that you are part of this change and you are gonna be, so they can accept such a change if they are resistant. The other main barrier are external barriers. In our industry are the regulatory entities and the legal. And these are the main barriers that cuts the automation of the process or the customer journey when it comes to onboarding and stuff like that, because they require physical signature, physical investigations and all that stuff. So we are working with the regulatory entities now in order for us to activate complete digital KYC for onboarding, as well as eliminate the physical signature to become a complete digital signature, to avoid breaking the process or breaking the automated cycle.
Okay. Mr. Omar, what were the challenges you faced? Mr. Rafla has spoken about some of the regulatory hurdles, but the laws take longer to change. The innovation happens first, but that never stops the innovation, whether the laws are there or not. So what were the challenges you faced?
Yeah, one of the key point is the culture, definitely. Like the culture needs to be there. But whenever we are doing any change in the company, like no matter what, it's a digital transformation or anything, inclusion is very important. So you should think about like the people who you are working, doing this change for. So from the first day, like all those people should be involved in the decision making, and they should know why we are doing this, because why is very important. If they know why we are doing this, then there will be very high level of acceptance when we actually roll this out to them. So first thing is culture, and then inclusion. That is very important for me.
Okay, culture is very important, and inclusion also. Taking everybody along, another important part about digital transformation. Now, they say digital transformation is led by people driving capabilities and underpinned by platforms, and it's not the other way around. So, a lot of focus goes on the technology, on the platforms, on the house of the transformation. So, what are the key aspects that should be covered by policies and procedures to improve digital transformation? I'm asking this, Mr. Rafla, because you mentioned that there were challenges when it comes to laws and regulation. It's the people who change things. What do you foresee in the future? How does it become better from here on?
Okay, so what we're doing is we are creating the innovative solutions for the regulatory entity in order for them to fill the gap and the risks they have. And we go into their sandbox and we do the tests and everything in order for us to be able to change and influence the laws that they come up with. So we are always in touch. We have a very close relationship with all the regulatory entities in order for us to be able to do any change. And as you've mentioned, we should be the one leading the change because we are the one doing the innovation. So yes, we come up with the solutions and we test it with even banks that fall under this regulatory entity in order for us to convince them even further, or an NBFI with the financial regulatory entity which doesn't fall under CBE. So we try to champion or take a sponsor with us to the regulatory entity and tell them this is what I need, and this is fills the gaps and it eliminates the risks, and we are okay with it. So why the central bank is not okay with it? Why the financial regulatory? And this is how we take it further with them. So we come up with a solution. We get the buy-in of the customer that falls under this regulatory, and we go and present the whole case to the regulatory entity. And we have achieved already 90% approval on the full digital KYC. So we can onboard now consumers without the need to come and sign anything.
Right. So you're moving ahead to bring everybody in step with the changes around them. Mr. Omer, could you give us some examples on the kinds of services that you've adopted that amaze your users, increase productivity, help you get more insights? Could you give us some examples?
In terms of example, as I mentioned, we are working on a CRM tool. So that CRM is going to help us. It's not fully implemented yet, but this is something that we are hoping that it's going to help us in connecting with our customers and trying to improve our customer services, because we are the industry that we are in is very dynamic, and then like even one bad experience can impact a lot. So we need to be very close to our customers. So this CRM can help us in connecting to our customers, doing a proper marketing for them, and then improving, getting the feedback from the customers and improving on top of that. So I feel that these are some of the steps that we are taking to make sure that that we are improving our services day by day.
Mr. Prafna, would you like to give us some examples? You were talking about how physical signatures, etc., are needed for some of your products. So could you give us examples where you've really serviced the customer, and the customer is also being amazed that, oh, is this possible? I never knew you could do this way. Could you give us some examples?
Definitely. We have introduced an AI-based lending system that can give the scoring and assessment to achieve a 30-second decision when it comes to lending. So a consumer who wants to buy a car, he can get an answer and get the disbursement in 30 seconds or less even. That's my SLA with the customer. So for them to be able to start the onboarding and application and do the whole complete assessment, credit and I-score check and AML check and everything in less than 30 seconds. This is one of a kind here in Egypt. And the other thing is a complete supply chain finance solution that is completely digital from end to end, including the reconciliation and settlement with core banking systems as well as ERPs. This is something also that has been introduced in the market in order for creating a seamless solution for the manufacturing and the retail markets. Of course, AI and machine learning is always in our systems, and we're always trying to embed them in all the stages of processing in order for us to always get a faster turnaround time. Also, robo-advisors is one of the things that we are implementing these days for our customers in order for them to help them, in management their budgets, in creating some sort of financial, small financial PFM, for them to be able to manage their expenses and even give them advice on how to save, give them advice on how to invest, where to invest, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so I'm going to wind this down and take in the last question. First from you, Mr. Omer, what are the mega trends that you foresee coming up that you like to focus on? What is actually what should be the focus for technology heads at this point of time?
I would say, when we are working remotely, you feel the physical contact with people. So right now things are moving back, which is good. But if we are, because still there are some companies that are fully remote and that they're working remotely and all that. So there is some challenges in the beginning when you are building a team, for example, and then like 80% of the team is remote. They have never like face-to-face talk to each other, and all they know is their profile picture that, okay, this is the guy. So this is going to be very challenging, and then we need to find a way for connecting those teams together, because at the end the team is delivering. The more efficient the team is, or more connected the team is, it's at the end they're delivering very good results. So like monthly or quarterly meetings, if it allows, if it is possible, that will be like team bonding activities. So that are very important for a team to gel together in these times while everyone is remote.
Okay, so you want to get your team back together again.
Yes.
Mr. Aftab, what are the things that you want to prioritize and focus on now? Because the world is slightly different from what it was a few months ago.
Sure. First thing that I want to focus on is security now. And I was very happy to see the presentation before our panel. Securing the information that we have and securing the customer data is my key priority now. I am also, the other thing is capitalizing on all the gathered information that we have from either the behavior of the customers on applications and all the stuff, the proper analytical tool that will give us the insights for cross-selling and upselling, because this is one of the most important things that we are focusing on right now as well. And providing new services like a platform as a service for other customers, and introducing new concept for banks to work on cloud marketplaces.
All right. So we've got your focus areas and what you want to work with for the times ahead. Thank you so much, Mr. Umair, Mr. Raka, for joining us and sharing with us your views on digital transformation strategy. Why is it important? How you're planning to tweak it? What changes you want to bring about and introduce in the months ahead, so that it all becomes easy and comfortable for everyone, for employees, for customers. Thank you all for joining us and sharing with us your views.
Thank you.